Welcome to episode 2 of the Scrum Master Guide. It gives me such great pleasure to see that you're watching this video where I can give you the knowledge that I've got about Scrum so that you can become confident and successful as a Scrum Master. You ready to get started? Let's go. Welcome back, Scrum Masters, to the Scrum Master Guide, brought to you by Rocket9 Solutions. My name is Vic Bonacci. I am a certified Scrum trainer and the host of the Agile Coffee podcast. I am so glad that you're here because today we are going to answer the most basic, fundamental question about what a Scrum Master does. I remember when I was first voluntold to be a Scrum Master. You may have been in the same boat as me, but back then I was a project manager who was very fond of his Gantt charts. Thank you very much. It's funny because if you asked the Scrum team back then, are we really doing Scrum? Everyone would nod their head. Yeah, of course we are. Looking back though, not so much. I can laugh about it now, but back then things weren't quite so funny. Now there is no project manager role in Scrum. So what do you do? Where do you go? What's a poor project manager to do now to learn how to become a Scrum Master? Well, back then when I was just starting out, what I would do is turn to books or blogs, or eventually my friend Stu came on board. He was a Scrum Master, so we chatted up. We figured things out together ourselves. But if you're out there in the wilderness and you don't know where to start, it's overwhelming. Certainly can be. But now years have gone by, the hairs are grayer. And I've been at it a while. So if someone was to ask me the most basic question about Scrum now, what I would tell them is go to the source. And in this case, the source is the Scrum Guide. So that's where we're going to go right now. So you just open up your browser, you go to scrumguides.org. And it's guides because there's multiple languages here. You'll see it's translated in over 30 different languages. You can get the PDF. It's only 19 pages long. That's not very long. And that's including the cover sheet and the table of contents and the endnotes. But I'm going to open up the HTML version. And you'll see on the left-hand side here is a little table of contents, an index, if you will. Click on Scrum Master. And right there's only 2 short paragraphs. The first one is just 2 sentences. Here we go. It says, the Scrum Master is responsible for promoting and supporting Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. Okay, so we're at the right place. The Scrum Guide has all the answers. Well, we'll see about that. So next sentence says, Scrum Masters do this by helping everyone, very important word there, everyone understand Scrum theory, practices, rules, and values. So there's not really so much to work with in that one sentence. And if you look at the next sentence, it talks about being a servant leader and how you're supposed to reach outside the Scrum team and manage the interactions between outsiders and the people on the Scrum team. And that's all well and good. If you scroll down, there's, again, not that much more about the Scrum Master's responsibilities. It says you have to be in service to not only your product owner, but also the development team, and finally to the organization at large. And there's some bullet points there. And then if you go through the rest of the Scrum Guide, you'll see that the Scrum Master is responsible for enabling the Scrum team to make sure that certain events happen. And then finally at the end, there's one paragraph on artifact transparency. It just says that the Scrum Master must work with others to make sure everyone understands that the artifacts are completely transparent. So we're going to talk about that later on too, but I really want to hone in on just that first sentence or two there, where it talks about the Scrum Master being responsible for promoting and supporting Scrum, as well as helping everyone understand Scrum theory, practices, rules, and values. So where do you go then? If that's the guidance that the Scrum Guide gives you, how do you get that real-world experience? How do you know what to do in what circumstance? Well, the Scrum Guide is purposefully a little bit vague there. They don't try to be very prescriptive. Scrum, as you're going to hear in upcoming episodes here, is very much a lightweight framework. There's not a lot of heavy methodology or processes in Scrum. And if you think there is, or if you've heard that, then you've unfortunately heard wrong. There's a few myths out there about Scrum that I'd love to debunk. So where do you turn to? Well, as I said, you can open up a book or read a blog. You can go to a conference, maybe not these days unless it's online. You can listen to podcasts, and you can watch videos as you're doing right now. These are all great places to start. But have you considered the idea of training? Now, I'm not saying go to a training right now or go get a certification, although there's probably no better time to take a training or get a certification now that everything's online and there's deep discounts everywhere. But just if you open up the training website and you see what is the training based on. For example, I'm a certified Scrum trainer with the Scrum Alliance. So if I go to the Scrum Alliance's website, which we'll do here right now, you will see that you can click on certification, types and tracks. Scroll down here, you'll see the Scrum Master track. And if you clicked on any of these courses, we're just going to click on Certified Scrum Master, you'll see here on the right-hand side this resource list. So it gives you the learning objectives for this specific certification. It also gives, in this case, another set of learning objectives, the Scrum Foundations learning objectives. And if we pop open one of these, you'll see it's just, again, a short PDF. But in this case, for the Certified Scrum Master learning objectives, you'll see that there's this blue type. It says Lean, Agile, and Scrum. That's what's called a category. So they're saying there's some learning objectives in the category of Lean, Agile, and Scrum. And if you scroll down, you see there's 22 of them. And then there's another category called Scrum Master Core Competencies, which has 4 in this case. Service to the development team, service to the product owner, service to the organization. Oh, where have I heard that before? Another thing that you can consider is other certifying bodies. For example, if you were to look at scrum.org, they also have competencies. They have 5 competencies in this case: understanding and applying the Scrum framework, developing people and teams, managing products with agility, and so on. So you can use this as a roadmap to your own learning, whether you're using the Scrum Alliance learning objectives for their Scrum Master courses, or in this case, scrum.org's, which apply. They state right here on the website that the competencies and the underlying focus areas apply to the Scrum team. So that includes the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the development team members, as well as other roles in the organization, such as Agile leaders. Or you can go to the Project Management Institute. They offer a certification called the Agile Certified Practitioner, the PMI ACP. And in this, they also have a number of domains. They have 7 domains. Here they are, 7 domains. And underneath the domains, they have tasks and subdomains. So whatever route you choose, you can find these. They're freely available on the websites of these organizations so that you can determine, is this something that I could use for my own learning? So again, I think in the future what I'd love to do is have someone from these other organizations join me on an episode, and we can kind of talk what some of the differences might be. But what I'm seeing is making me feel good that the learning objectives from the Scrum Alliance will be a very useful guide in putting together future videos for you here. Of those learning objectives, there's about 127 last I counted here. We could start to use that as the roadmap of how we're going to present our material to you. You can come back next time and check the next video, which will be the very first objective off of the Scrum Foundations learning objectives here, and we'll talk that through. So I'm excited to do that. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's overview. I think if episode 1 was kind of the shiny book cover and the back cover of what this video series is going to be, then today's episode was really the table of contents, right? How we're going to go about going through all the different learning objectives and using that as a means to convey the best of the knowledge so that you can become confident and successful as a Scrum Master. I hope that you join us next time on the Scrum Master Guide. We look forward to seeing you.